wow. Just wow, man. This show in Paris was absolute garbage. Straight up trash. Another PLE disaster class from WWE this year. Nothing made sense, nothing was entertaining, and none of it was compelling. And those so-called surprises, the big shock moments Triple H loves to pull out of his bag of tricks, yeah, garbage. Pure garbage. And tell me, who actually cares that Becky Lynch is now helping Seth Rollins? Oh, let me guess. Light it up. Light it up. Nah, forget that. Triple H's booking is basically mess it up. Mess it up. Because that's all he knows how to do. This man has no clue what he's doing. Even if AJ Lee really does return, it's already ruined. Why? Because everybody's expecting it. The surprise factor is dead. Sure, she'll still get a massive pop because AJ Lee is awesome. We grew up with her, and she deserves that moment. But the shine is gone the second it's predictable. And let's not even get into the dumb idea of AJ Lee and CM Punk versus Becky and Seth. What's the point? What's actually gained by that match? Absolutely nothing. It's just fan service fluff. And if AJ Lee is really coming back for one last run, you're telling me her final feud is going to be in this garbage division with Seth and Becky's nonsense? Are you kidding me? What a complete waste. This whole show felt like it was phoned in just for cheap pops. Triple H said, let's go overseas, take their money, and serve them trash. That's literally what we got. They couldn't even give us a proper women's title match. No Io Sky defending against a hot challenger, no creative storylines, nothing. Instead, we get Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill announcing random title opportunities like it's a raffle draw. Absolute embarrassment. Then you've got Roman Reigns. Yes, Roman freaking Reigns, reduced to jobbing out to Bronson Reed for shoes. Shoes. Do you realize how stupid this is? This man just came off a 1,300-day championship reign, one of the greatest runs in WWE history. It took Cena, Rock, Undertaker, Cody, Solo, Jimmy, Jay, literally half the roster and their grandmas, to finally take him down at Mania. And now you've got him out here struggling against Bronson Reed for Jordans. What are we doing here? And of course, 90% of the match was just Roman getting tossed around like he's some rookie. Reed counters the spear? Excuse me? John Cena couldn't counter the spear. Brock Lesnar couldn't counter the spear. Cody Rhodes couldn't counter the spear. But Bronson Reed? Nah, man. That's comedy. That's not wrestling. The match ends with one spear and Roman gets the win. But at that point, who even cares? Nobody. Not even me. And I'm a massive Roman fan. It's embarrassing. This wasn't premium live entertainment. This was premium slop. Premium trash. The only thing worth talking about from this entire disaster is Cena versus Logan Paul, because at least that was fun, creative, and actually felt like a big match. Everything else, mid at best. And the sad thing is, we've seen half of it already on Raw 1,000 times. So yeah, congratulations, Triple H. Once again, you've given us a PLE that's less special event and more Monday Night Raw with extra steps. It wasn't the worst thing ever, but it was meaningless. Mediocre at best. And this is supposed to be premium content? Nah, man, this ain't premium. This is dollar store clearance bin wrestling. Roman finally gets his shoes back after the match, holds them up like they're championship belts. The crowd goes nuts. And then what happens? He slaps a guillotine on Paul Heyman. Yes, Paul freaking Heyman. Then, like nothing happened, Roman signs the shoes and starts handing them out to fans. Bro, this is clown show booking. And then Braun Breaker spears Roman straight through a table, out of nowhere. And of course, as Roman's laying there dead, Jey Uso finally shows up like it's a family barbecue he forgot about. Too little, too late, oos. And what happens? Both Roman and Jey get absolutely demolished by the LeBron James duo. That's all they are, mindless goons, jobber energy. At this point, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, and Paul Heyman need to just quit this faction by Monday. Done. Over. Leave the circus, because Seth Rollins disrespected them later in the night anyway, and WWE is just going to gloss over it like it never happened. And then the cherry on top, Roman freaking Reigns gets stretchered out of the arena. A stretcher! Roman. The same guy who used to eat 10 finishers a night when he was champ and still kicked out like it was light work. And now, 2 spears from a mid-carder and a splash from an undercard jobber, and suddenly he's crippled. This man survived The Rock, Cena, Taker, Cody, Solo, the Usos all jumping him at Mania, but Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed send him to the hospital? Nah. This is insulting. I get it. Roman has to leave to film Street Fighter, fine, but there are 1,000 better ways to write him off. This way makes him look weak, and it's pathetic. Moving on, we get the Street Profits versus the Wyatts 6, and I'll be real, I didn't watch this match outside the last minute. Why? Because the Wyatt Six are boring. Nonsense, gibberish, cosplay horror movie rejects. Nobody cares. I refuse to waste my time on their spooky garbage unless I absolutely have to. Meanwhile, the Profits, two of the most talented guys in WWE, get treated like props. Montez Ford, who's basically great at everything you need to be a star, comes out dressed like a Borderlands character, a literal walking advertisement. And what happens? He gets pinned. Clown show. And now they're teasing a breakup between him and Dawkins with some random tension WWE just made up out of nowhere. Just split them up already. Montez deserves a solo run, deserves championships, deserves an actual push. He's got star power and they've got him playing dress up. Ridiculous. Next up, Becky Lynch versus Nikki Bella. Oh my God, this was painful. Botches everywhere. Straight up embarrassing. Why on earth would anybody in their mind write 10 more than a 2 out of 10? And that's me being generous. Nikki throws this disaster of a kick. Becky's not in position, and it looks like a high school play fight. Then they brawl outside and slam faces on the announce table, except no faces actually touch the table. They just slap it with their hands. It looked faker than a bad TikTok skit. This is the kind of footage that ends up in one of those wrestling is fake compilation videos your friend sends you, like Batista flying 40 feet after a Mark Henry shove. That level of fake. Easily one of the worst women's matches I've ever seen. Botchy, sloppy, over-choreographed, and boring. And how does it end? With the most cursed finish in modern WWE history, the fruit roll-up. Again, because apparently WWE forgot how to book a clean pin. Roll-up after roll-up after roll-up. Garbage. Of course, Becky retains, but the whole match was hot trash. Probably the worst women's match of the year, and there have been some stinkers already. Finally, we get Sheamus versus Rusev in a Donnybrook match. And honestly, it wasn't bad. But here's the issue. We've seen this match about 80 times already. Same thing on Raw, just minus the weapons. So this wasn't special. This was reheated leftovers served in a slightly fancier bowl. Nothing new, nothing fresh. This match needed to be something special, something exciting, something that actually made me feel like, yeah, this is worth watching on a so-called premium live event. Did it deliver? Nope. Not even close. Sure, Sheamus hit a white noise off the top of the barrels through a table. Cool spot. I'll give credit where it's due. But come on. We've seen Sheamus do that before. He did it to Pete Dunne in some random Donnybrook match last year. So this wasn't new. It was just recycled leftovers. He's got his 10 beats of the Bodhrán, does it with the crowd, does it without the crowd, does it anywhere he can. Rusev broke a chalice over Sheamus's back. That was pretty cool, I'll admit. And slamming each other through a bar? Yeah, that was sick. Probably my favorite part of the match. But let's not kid ourselves. This was still just another Sheamus versus Rusev match. We've seen it a million times, only this time they sprinkled in some weapons. Was it bad? No. Was it unforgettable? Also no. It was watch once, never watch again type of decent. Rusev ends up winning by putting Sheamus in the accolade using the chalice, which actually made Sheamus tap out, something he almost never does in WWE. That was interesting. I'll give them that. So I guess Rusev moves on to mid-card territory, maybe even challenging whoever's holding the IC title after AJ versus Dominic on Raw. Fine. But tell me, why the hell wasn't AJ Styles already on this card? AJ versus Dominic for the IC title would have been 1,000 times better than watching Rusev and Sheamus wrestle the same match we've seen on Raw, just with barrels. Hell, you could have replaced Becky Lynch versus Nikki Bella with AJ Styles versus literally anyone for a title, and it would have been more meaningful. Instead, we got reheated garbage. Embarrassing. But finally, we get to the good stuff. The match of the night, John Cena versus Logan Paul. And let me just say, this was awesome. Genuinely fun, creative, entertaining, the kind of match you actually want on a premium live event. The build for this match was already fire. It wasn't just the tired, I'm the outsider, Cena's the old vet story. No, Cena came in saying wrestling could ruin Logan Paul because all Logan does is take, take, take. And Logan fired back saying, I'm not an outsider anymore. I bring in money. I bring in eyeballs. I've never had a bad match. I've signed billion-dollar deals. The promos were gold. The story felt fresh. And the hype was real. Then the match itself, even better. Cena pulled out stuff I didn't expect. Code Reds, a styles clash. Logan tried to do a five-knuckle shuffle, even attempted an AA. The creativity was on point. The crowd was electric, the atmosphere was perfect, and Cena's entrance? Chills, man. Straight up chills. The guy's only got 9 appearances left after this. 9. This is his final run, and you could feel how much it meant to him. Logan Paul got treated like a legit main eventer, too. Dude was kicking out of multiple AAs, slipping out of the STF, countering moves. He looked strong. The finishing sequence was great. Logan hits a knockout punch. Cena no-sells, hits an AA, and collapses into the cover for the win. Beautiful. Cena gets the W, the crowd eats it up, and after the match he goes ringside, kisses his wife, takes pics with fans, and even made amends with that kid he roasted earlier this year. This is the Cena we know and love, the GOAT. And honestly, this should have been the main event. Even though it wasn't for a title, it actually mattered, because it's Cena, and these are some of his last matches ever, which makes it even sadder that Triple H absolutely butchered Cena's final run. He never should have turned heel. The Rock even wanted Cody to turn heel, then have Cena feud with him. Makes way more sense. Because let's be honest, with all respect, Cena's retirement year matters way more than whatever Cody Rhodes is doing right now. But no, Trips fumbled it, big time. Now we just gotta take what scraps are left of Cena's last run and enjoy them while we can. All right, let's talk about this so-called main event. A fatal four-way for the World Championship. Seth Rollins, LA Knight, Jey Uso, and CM Punk. And let me be real with you guys, this was boring. Straight up boring and bad. Nothing memorable, nothing exciting. LA Knight jumps off the top rope and puts himself through a table. Jey Uso, man looked gassed like he ran a marathon before the match even started. They tried to cover it up with the whole, oh, he's injured from the earlier brawl with Braun and Bronson excuse. Sure, whatever. And CM Punk, bro botched a table flip so bad it was laughable. He didn't even break the table. He just kind of flopped out. This whole thing was basically one guy does a move, then disappears for 5 minutes. Next guy does a move, then disappears for 5 minutes. Rinse and repeat. It was overly choreographed, predictable, and flat out forgettable. And here's the kicker. We all knew Rollins was going to retain. So guess what? 0 suspense, 0 excitement. Just bad TV. Then the finish happens. Rollins stomps Punk, talks trash about his family, Punk fires back with a GTS, Rollins falls into position for another one, and suddenly Becky Lynch shows up to low blow Punk. Then Rollins stomps him on a chair, gets the pin, stands tall with Becky, and boom, show's over. Yawn. Triple H's whole thing these days is shock factor, but there was no real shock here. It's like when Brock Lesnar came back just to vanish again. Cheap pop, no substance. Who cares that Becky is helping Seth? Nobody. Especially since we all know AJ Lee is probably coming back in a month or two to make this angle remotely interesting. This entire show was phoned in. No effort, no creativity. The women's division, non-existent. Six matches on the card and only one was actually great. Cena versus Logan Paul. That was premium level content. Sheamus versus Rusev was fine. I'll give it half a point. The crowd was hot. That's another half. But everything else, trash. Absolute garbage. My rating, 2 out of 10. And that's me being generous. Why would I settle for garbage booking, endless botches, and forgettable nonsense? You're telling me this main event was supposed to be the big selling point? I was so bored, I ended up scrolling on my phone during the match. That says it all. And this Becky twist, look, we know exactly what this is. They're just stalling until AJ Lee returns. And yes, AJ Lee coming back will be awesome. But the road to that? Unbearable. I couldn't care less about Seth, Punk, and Becky playing soap opera until the real star shows up. Raw and SmackDown are still trash. This Paris PLE, complete disaster. Draining, boring, and embarrassing. 2 out of 10. Wrestling Worm ain't sugarcoating it. Oh wait, hold up. I almost forgot something. Before the main event, Seth Rollins cut a promo backstage that actually got me hyped. And that's rare because this current Rollins run has been absolute garbage. But in that promo, he said, if I can't be champion by winning on my own, then I shouldn't be champion at all. Cool line, right? Except he didn't even win on his own. He needed Becky's help. So now everything he said was pointless. And let's talk about this faction stuff. Rollins basically buried his own crew. Bronson Reed got speared by Roman. Braun Breaker sent home. Heyman in the hospital. And Rollins is out here saying he never needed them. If we're being logical, these guys should dump him immediately. But nope. They'll just crawl back to Rollins, smiling like the jobbers Triple H booked them to be. No character, no progression, just wasted potential. And now Becky's wasting her time too. We saw what happened in 2019 when Rollins and Becky teamed up. It flopped. This will flop again. Same story, same results. So yeah, that's the Wrestling Worm verdict. Paris PL, straight trash. The Vision, garbage. The main event, forgettable. The show overall, a failure. And that's the bottom line, because I ain't settling for mid-wrestling.